Hey everybody, kids out there, teachers. My name is Andrew Shay. I am one of the many naturalists from the Winston County area, your backyard, and we're here today to talk a little bit about the water that surrounds us. These are our kids right here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Anthony and I'm in 7th grade.
Hello, I'm Carlos and I'm in 6th grade.
We together as a family do a lot of studies on the water, and we thought this would be a cool way to encourage you to get out with your family and do some stuff on the water with them. A couple people had been here before. What's something you might want to come out here and do?
Fish.
You might want to come fish. You might want to come out here and go for a swim. If you're going to go swimming or fishing here, what's something you might want to know about this area? Does anybody know what this body of water is, number one?
A lake.
It is a lake. What lake? It's Smith Lake, that's right. What might you want to know about this body of water?
If they're
Great. What type of fish are in it?
Maybe something that might bite you, you don't want to get bite.
Okay, good. So we can do, as amateur naturalists, we could come out here and do what's called a bioassessment. What the heck does that mean? A check of living things? Great answer. What does bio mean? It means life. What is assessment? I'm sure you had many of those.
work.
Assessment.
A goal.
What is it? It's a test. That's right, it's a test. So if we wanted to understand what's going on out here in the water, all we got to do is a bioassessment. And if you tell your parents like, hey, wait a second, before I go swimming, let me do a bioassessment. Check it out. They're going to be like, dang, what are you learning in science class? This is awesome. But it would basically just mean you're doing a life test, okay? If you want to do that, how would you do it? Let me introduce you to a couple of scientific instruments that I used this morning to do a bioassessment here at Smith Lake, Houston Recreation Area. Advanced scientific tools. One is a 5-gallon bucket. The other is a spaghetti strainer that I got out of my kitchen.
Yes. The most scientific of instruments.
This is all you need. This is it, right here. You, with these two instruments, are suddenly a junior scientist, okay? And with these two instruments, you can get out there and you can look in these habitats and find, what are we gonna find in there?
Fish.
Okay, maybe fish.
Little things.
Little things, good.
Like those.
What, possibly nothing, the very good point. One thing specifically that I am looking for are macroinvertebrates. It helps me to sound it out. Macroinvertebrates, what does that mean? Okay, where have you heard a word like macro before?
Macaroni.
That's what the last group said, come on. In science, micro, okay. If you're looking at something microscopic, what do you need to look at that?
Magnifying glass.
You need to have a magnifying
Or
glass.
one of those things you put your eye in and see it.
That's called a microscope. I'm sure you've seen one of those
Yeah,
before.
a microscope.
Okay, what do you need to look at something that is macro?
A microscope macaroni?
If microscopic is so tiny you need a magnifying glass, what is macro? It's bigger. Guess what you need to see macroinvertebrates?
Nothing.
Your eyeballs, that's it. And for some of us that are visually challenged, maybe you need your spectacles. Okay, but those things you can see with your naked eye, okay? What is an invertebrate? What is a vertebrate? You've heard of vertebrae, what does that mean? Yes, you do. What is a vertebra? Vertebrae. You have them. Huh? It's your spine, okay? So, yes, vertebrates have a spine, a backbone. What do invertebrates have?
No backbone.
That's right. So what do they have to support the structure of their body?
Nothing.
You know the answer to this.
Legs.
They have what is called an exoskeleton. See, you know this stuff. It's just been a while since you thought about it. They have an exoskeleton. What does that mean?
And
Yeah.
a skeleton on the outside.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Exo means outside. I'm sorry. I called on you and then she answered. I got so excited I didn't know what to do. Exo means outside. Okay, so it's like
But you can't see it.
they've got this outside of their body that's hard, like a beetle or something. Okay, so we're gonna look for macroinvertebrates with exoskeletons, and that's gonna tell us about the quality of the water. Okay, bam. Let me look at this. I drew this morning. I know I'm not the greatest artist in the whole world, but this will illustrate a point for me. Okay, where are we gonna look for this stuff? Out here. How are we gonna use our scientific instruments to hunt for these things? What? If we just scoop up the water, you think they're gonna just jump in there for us?
No.
Trap them. You gotta do a trap.
Okay, we gotta scoop in their habitat. Okay, what is a habitat?
It's like where
That's where they
they live.
live.
It's an animal's home. Okay, so are all of them gonna have the same home? No, of course not. So we're gonna look around here, and we're gonna look, like you said, at the edges of it. Where's another good place to look?
In the water.
In the water, under rocks. Good. The surface. Good. So there are going to be different macroinvertebrates at each one of those habitat sites. Okay. Another place that I really like to look is if these leaves fall into the creek, what's going to happen to them?
They'll probably go on it.
They'll float.
They'll start to do what?
Close.
Start to the deep. They do this on the ground too.
Disintegrate.
They start to decompose, which means breakdown. Okay, that decomposing matter in the creek or any body of water is called detritus. It stinks. It doesn't matter if I write it down. It's called detritus. Okay, so like on the edges of a pond or a lake or a body of water, you're gonna find places where there's decomposing matter around the edges. That stuff is called detritus. That is an excellent habitat for macroinvertebrates, okay? One macroinvertebrate that I found this morning is called a dragonfly nymph. I'm gonna pass this around so you can see it. That is a macroinvertebrate that lives in the detritus on the edges of this lake and ponds and like calmer bodies of
Wait,
water.
where'd you find it?
Right here.
On the ground?
No. Where did I find it? I just told you.
In the water.
I found it in the water, in the detritus that I looked through with my scientific instrument. Okay? Now, what can that tell me? Well, I, as a scientist, have a guide to help me understand stuff like this. So, when you look for these macroinvertebrates, you can see all kinds of different stuff. You will not believe how many things are living out here that you would never think about. And all of them can tell you things about the quality of that water. So this group 3 down here at the bottom of this list, this is, if we only found these macroinvertebrates, that would indicate that we have like fair to poor water quality. So if we looked out there and all we found were pouch snails, midge pupa, midge larvae, and aquatic worms, what would we know about that water?
Not very good water.
It's not great water. We don't even have to have chemicals or be like advanced scientists to figure that stuff out. All we need are scientific instruments. Okay? Now, if we went out there, what did I tell you I found this morning?
Macroinvertebrate.
Yeah, but which one specifically that I'm passing around?
Dragonfly in.
It's a dragonfly nymph. Yeah, that's correct. Dragonfly nymph. That's in group 2. Group 2 tells us that we have at least a wide range of quality. So could that really, if we only found dragonfly nymph, would that tell us that much? Kind of not really. But if we went out there and we found some dragonfly nymphs, maybe some pouch snails, and we found a caddisfly larva or a stonefly nymph, those other things are in group 1. That's excellent to good water quality. So if we found a bunch of stuff in like group 1, some things in group 2, and one thing in group 3, what would we think about the water probably?
Really good.
We'd probably think, man, this water's doing all right. And I can tell you from having studied this water a bunch, that this water is of a pretty high quality. How are we gonna find out what the quality of this water behind us is? What's it like? We're scientists, amateur scientists, but we didn't bring any chemical testing with us. But there are things that we can look at in the water that can tell us about the quality of that water. They are macroinvertebrates. What does macro mean? I'm sure you're familiar with the term micro. That means small. Macro means a little bit larger, and large enough that you can see it with your naked eye. You don't need a microscope. You don't need any special equipment, just your hands. Invertebrate. You know this one because you're in 6th grade. An invertebrate is an animal without a backbone. That means that it has an exoskeleton. Macroinvertebrates can be found in these streams with just a few simple tools. Look at this. We borrowed some stuff from our house. It's our ice cube tray. Got something else here, very special collection tool. It's a spaghetti strainer. And we also have this little wash tub. This is all you need, kids. And you could probably find all of these things for under a couple bucks at the thrift store. We did bring some other fancy equipment here provided by Auburn Extension, thank you guys, that we're gonna use. And in a second, we're gonna take you down to the stream and show you how to start locating these macroinvertebrates and then what they can tell us about this water system. Okay, look, here we are in our backyard. This is a small little branch creek that's behind our house, and it's really important to us to know that this water is in good shape, is of good quality. So we're looking for those macroinvertebrates, and you look at this water right away and you might not see things. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you can find all kinds of different stuff. I'm right here at this very small pool. You're gonna find things in this pool that might be different from right down here where the water's moving a little bit. That's called the riffle. This is a pool, that's the riffle. And you're gonna find different things in different areas. So be sure to look all around. One thing that we really like to do to find what we're looking for is to very gently pick up a rock and turn it over and see what's going on the bottom of it and watch for movement. And this rock right here, the first one that I picked up, has at least 5 or 6 different macroinvertebrates moving on it. That's a good sign, but what do those macroinvertebrates tell us? We're not sure yet. So we're gonna carefully collect them with this fancy spaghetti strainer and our collection tool back here, and identify them and see what they are. If you look really closely at this guy's mouth, you can tell that he's a predator. His jaw actually comes out from his body like this and grabs his prey and pulls it toward his mouth like the predator. What we're looking at here are 3 really important indicator species. So those are things that we know that if we find these 3 in particular, that we have water that is of very high quality. So this is good news for us. What we're looking at here, the insect in there with the 2 tails is called a stonefly. There's another one in there with 3 tails, and that's a mayfly. And then finally, the really tiny little one swimming around, you can see the kind of like the frilly little sides on his body. You can see that on the mayfly too, but the really, really tiny one is called a helgramite, and that's it, the helgramite in its really babyest form. They live in the water for almost 3 years before they come out as a Dobson fly. All 3 of these tell us that the water is of super high quality, and we actually found several of of these stoneflies and mayflies especially. The hellgrammite was kind of a special find. All right, so what we've got here is a young salamander, and in the beginning part of their lives, some salamanders live in the water. And you can see this one, he has those 3 frilly little feathery things on each side of his neck. Those are his gills that allow him to breathe under the water. So he will live in the water sometimes for up to a year, come out, and those gills will start to go away, and he will become a terrestrial amphibian and breathe through his skin. All right, well, we collected many of these, and you know, every kid's favorite thing to collect. This is the classic crayfish, crawdad, however you like to say it. Crayfish have a couple of cool adaptations that help them to survive in this environment. Crayfish are called decapods, which means they have 10 legs. And if you see this guy, he actually, on the end of each of his legs, he has 2 tiny little feet that help him grab on, and that helps him move through the stream. Another cool adaptation that crayfish have is their eyes are actually up on little stalks so that they can see in all directions, and that's to help protect them from predators. Another thing that helps them be protected from predators is their tail. And anybody who's gone out and collected crayfish knows that they can get away from you really quickly by flicking their tail, and that allows them to swim backwards at a rapid speed. If you look at these guys, they look pretty similar, and they both actually do similar things. If you can see them closely enough, you can tell that they have this silvery air bubble that they carry with them, and that's like their oxygen tank. They will swim underwater with a little bubble of air that they can breathe with underwater. And if you look closely at their legs, they're both designed like oars to move them through the water really quickly, to either swim away from prey or do whatever they're doing to hunt for food. And you can see that back swimmer, this guy right here, he will rest with his rear end toward the surface of the water, and he'll take a big breath and carry that air bubble down with him. Here we are after returning from a 20-minute hunt here in the backyard. We've identified at least 12 different species of macroinvertebrates, learned some cool stuff about each one of them, and we also put them into their different groups. And we found a lot of things in group 1, and that indicates to us that this water is of high quality. That's important to us. We had a pretty good feeling about it. But this is a very simple thing, very simple bioassessment that you can do in any body of water with very limited equipment. YouTube.